the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bumping through your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bumping through your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass.
Hey, welcome to the Really Charlie Podcast. And my guest tonight is Djofa Tavares, Miss Tavares, as her students call her. She is definitely an amazing young woman doing her thing. And I am truly proud of her. One of my former guests, Heather Montero, suggested that I get Djofa on here. And I said, yeah, that's a good thing, and not knowing who her family was. But I do know of them, and they're all doing amazing work, especially the literary work. I'm an author, self-published, and so I appreciate anyone that's doing anything and putting something in book form to educate, to entertain, and you're doing amazing work.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We got to have you not once, not twice, but 3 times. We got to keep on doing this. So,
sure.
Yeah. And this is your amazing book. And
Tiagu and Vovo.
Yeah.
Vovo in the Kriolu side.
Yes. It's a very, very good book. And, this book's special because you signed it. And I'm glad you approached me when we were out and about. It made it that much special because just hours before that I was thinking about the podcast and getting you on and when we were going to, I knew when we were going to do it, but I just said, I got to reach out to her. I said I would. So, all right. So you have your book, you're a teacher.
Yes.
So how do you find this time? You're probably doing this stuff after midnight because I know a teacher has no time to do anything,
Yeah. Well, honestly, it's such a pleasure to be here with you tonight. And
thank you.
Sharing my work is not something I've always done. I've always written. I've always been a writer since I was a little kid. I remember always writing. And so I have a lot of written work that I never felt comfortable sharing, or I didn't think it was important, or whatever the case may be. And then, I've been working on a memoir and a poetry book for the last few years. And life gets in the way and I really feel like I wanted to be right. I wanted to be at the right time. So I kind of put those aside because then this story of Tiagu and Vovo came to me. And so I just, I had it since 2017. I wrote it in 2017. And it was really because as an educator, teacher in Boston Public Schools, I am surrounded by Capeverdean kids. But a lot of them, they lose the language if they're immigrants that can come from Cabo Verde, or they were born here and they basically lose the language. Once they start school, it's just the English. And so for me, I was born, raised here in Boston as well. I went to Boston Public Schools. My first language was Kriolu. I didn't speak English until I got into K1 in Roxbury. So that's when, I learned English, but my family made it a huge point of making sure that we kept the language. So all of my first cousins on my dad's side that was born here, there's about almost 40 of us, and we all speak Kriolu. Our children, for the most part, speak Kriolu, especially the older ones, but now it's a little trickier. I'm not going to lie, it is a little tricky. But, going back to my students, I had one in particular, and his name was actually Tiagu.
Wow.
He stuck with me because he was a newly immigrated into America in Boston and Boston Public Schools. And within about 4 months, this kid was only speaking English. And
Wow.
I'm like, wait, Tiago, you're forgetting Kriolu. And that
Hmm.
really, I was like, no, you can't let go Kriolu. So I started speaking to him every day, every day. Me and him, you know, I would talk to him in Kriolu so that way he didn't forget. And then the other students who, not all of them were Cape Verdean, some of them were Haitian, Dominican, you know, there was just a lot, African American. There was a lot of different, you know, our school was pretty diverse. And they would hear me in Tiago. And then they would say, Mr. Tavares, we want to learn, like, you know, how you're speaking with Tiago. And I was like, okay. And I started a children's Kriolu lunch group. And they were, you know, like I said, a diverse group. And we learned Kriolu. Every Wednesday, we would do Kriolu. And then at like the end, it went for about like 12 weeks or something. So once a week, about 45 minutes or whatever it was. And at the end, I brought in some Cape Verdean food and we celebrated with feijoada and pastel,
Hmm.
you know, and they were so excited. And it really made them happy about the language, but not only the Kriolu language, the other kids, like my Haitian students, were like, oh, we speak a different Creole. Like they
Hmm.
Creole. So I was like, yeah, you should pick that up too. And so they got an interest in the language. And so that's kind of experience really stuck with me and how important it is to make sure that kids know the value, you know, because I know, you know, a lot of people that moved from their home country, that, you know, language is usually the first to go because you're trying to assimilate, you're trying to survive. So the language gets lost. And
Yes,
so
agree.
a lot of, you know, things happen and then language is not seen, you know, as important or whatever the case may be. But I really felt like we really need to make it a point to have these kids see how important it is. So,
It's so true. And
yeah.
you know, that's pretty much what happened with, you know, my mom and myself. You know, we just had we lost the language, and only because back then they were pretty much trying to, you know, just keep secrets away from us, you know, and didn't want us to hear what was going on. And that was, to me, that was disappointing. But I can't relate to back then, you know, I can't, because I was born a different time, and so things were differently, so
Yeah.
different, and how they perceived us as you know, as African people, and you know, so yeah, and you got discriminated in a lot of ways, you know, even amongst your own people, you know,
For
and
sure.
so, but your book is like, we were talking off air, and I explained that, you know, there's so many stories that we can write about within our families and write books almost probably once a month, twice a month, you
Yeah.
know, only because those stories are beautiful and relatable. And I think of it, you know, when when I was reading your book, I kind of pictured myself, but
Mm,
in more like the it was me being an English speaking, and my great grandfather not being. So the
yeah.
communication was very difficult with us, and but you know, as we my memories were when people came in, they were kind of speaking English within the house. He would kind of go in the other room or
Mhm.
watch TV.
Yeah, there's a loss. It's lost in translation.
Yeah. So, but majority of the time, you know, he was comfortable. But
Yeah.
so we it, so what's next with you after this? I mean, this book is amazing.
Thank you. You know, I actually, you know, this book, you know, actually putting it out there was scary, but
Hmm.
I thought it was important enough to, okay, like, and the fact that we actually translated it. So the whole story is in English, but when you flip it, it's in Kriolu. So the whole story is in Kriolu. That key piece there was so important to me because for me, Kriolu was so important to my family and growing up And I grew up here in Boston, but you would think I was raised in Cabo Verde.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents had a huge yard. They used to we had chickens and rabbits, and we planted seeds with beans and corn and all of that stuff. We even had a grapevine that my aunt, who was Portuguese, married to my uncle. She
Mm-hmm.
used to stomp the grapes, and we used to make wine in my grandmother's. This is in Roxbury.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I don't take that lightly. I am very fortunate how I grew up. But the love of Kriolu, I don't know. I think it's my uncle, Manuel Da Luz Goncalves, he published the dictionary. The first
Yes.
Capeverdean Dictionary has over 60,000 words. And one of the things, 40,000, 600 pages. And one of the things when he was working on it, he felt alone. There it is. It's a and it holds a lot of history because he wanted to capture those old words that because he didn't want Creole to get lost. Because here we turn everything into Kringlish, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like bathroom, a lot of people say batirumo.
Mm-hmm.
Bathroom is not batirumo in Creole, it's quarto baño.
Mm-hmm.
That thing sounds so much nicer. But anyway, so when he was done, and his daughter, Liza Gonzalez, who actually owns a creative agency in Brooklyn, New York called The Compound, so they got together, and she's all about branding, marketing, quality, all that stuff. So when she went hard. She designed this book. And so when the book was ready, it was time to market it. That's where they didn't even ask me. When I saw the book, I was like, oh no, everybody has to know about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I started writing. We were doing blogs. We did Facebook posts, and then we related it to everything Cabo Verde. It's the language, it's the music, it's the people, it's the holidays, it's everything. I just went ham.
Mm-hmm.
And then having the book, I started writing in Kriolu more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because now I have a reference point. And so I write poetry in Kriolu. My vocabulary has grown so much in Kriolu. So I fell in love with it. And then we started selling the books at all the festivals and all that stuff. And then every time we would hear these sad stories of like what you're saying, like how people lost the language, how they were told, no, you can't speak it. Some people were told that it's not a language. It's something for the home. It's not valuable. You have to learn Portuguese, or you'd have to learn English in order to be successful. And
Mm-hmm.
they, Criollo was always second.
Yeah.
And so for me, I said, wow, Criolu is powerful, because
Sure
with
is.
my Criolu, I understand Portuguese, I understand Spanish, I understand French, I understand Italian,
Mm-hmm.
even like some Arabic words, that
Yes.
I can, and even Chinese too. I studied Chinese for 2 years, and
Wow.
a lot of the words I knew because of my Criolu. So you
Wow.
cannot tell me that Criolu is not powerful.
Yeah, it is.
So that's why, like, I was like, yeah. And the more I kind of dug into the history and learned it more and talked to the people, I don't know, I just became like this, I don't know, Criolista that
Mm-hmm.
you can't stop me now.
It is amazing, and I'm glad that you're being a great advocate for literary work. It's very, very important, especially when it's our own.
For sure.
Talk to me about Scribing Sisters. Talk to me about that.
Scribing Sister. I know I have a lot of names.
Mhm.
So Scribing Sister came about because, time of Facebook, and maybe you didn't want people to see you on there, whatever. I was like, I can't put my, being a teacher as well. I was like, all
Yeah.
right, I need a pseudonym,
Mhm.
and since I write. And I'm a sister. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
Scribing Sister. But, the writing piece has always been part of me. And it wasn't until I became a grown woman
Mhm. Yeah.
that I realized, I'm like, wait, this is not mine. It's a gift. It's a gift that I have. Not everyone could do. And I used to think that everyone writes like this, right? I used to think like, oh, this is easy, because it was so easy for me to just like write a poem. Like you
Hmm.
tell me a theme and it's boom, it's coming out. But it's a gift. And I learned that. I'm like, it's a gift and it's not for me. So it's important for me to share, and it's important because you never know who's going to take what from it. Right.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so I did start sharing. I do open mics. So I am working on a book of poems, and it will have both English and Criollo, and all the Criollo poems will be translated. Because I want to be able to share. And I will say this: when you
Yeah.
translate Criollo, I always feel you don't there's this grasp. It's just not grasping the full emotion or expression
Hmm.
translated. So I do try my best to bring forth, and sometimes you can't really translate it exactly word for word, because Criollo doesn't really work like
Yeah.
that. Or there's some words in Criollo that there's no translation in English.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so that's kind of where Scribe and Sister comes from.
Well, I like it. I love the name. Uh, Gotta definitely hype you up with or kind of promote you in any kind of way, whether it's your book, whether it's merchandise, anything you possibly have. Just
Mhm.
I gotta get connected with that. And I mean, I love wearing T-shirts on my podcast. I really do. I like having books behind me.
Yeah,
A lot of those books behind me are guests that I had on my show.
yeah, it's
It's real important that we highlight each other and support each other.
for sure.
Um,
I always say that we have such a gifted, talented group of people, and too many times, like I hid my stuff for so long, and too many times we don't even realize like the value in it, and even in connecting,
mhm,
because it's about connecting. Our hashtag for our company Mili Mila is Juntamo.
mm,
That means join hands.
yes.
And we know that we're stronger together. So one of the things I try to do daily is share information about, Cape Verdean owned businesses, or people that are doing, doing their thing and really sharing with the community and all that, the positive, productive, and in their purpose. And that's really what I try to share, because I think it's important for people to know that we're here. Like, we have an amazing thing, and sometimes it goes unnoticed. But I
Yeah.
feel like right now there's like this resurgence of
Hmm.
um, kind of like this self discovery at the same time as in like sharing that
Yeah.
self, because it's helping the community. So
Yeah.
I'm
You
it's like
that
you could feel it in the air.
yeah, that self assuring, self knowledge of, and also the empowerment is
Yeah.
going on at the same time.
Yes.
Normally, years ago, it was usually one or the other.
Yeah.
So now we have this great um, uh, sense of pride and identity that is bigger than I've ever seen it in my life.
For sure.
And I'm so happy that as a people we are all kind of getting together and getting unified. It's so important that we do this,
Yeah.
because those islands, that country is amazing. And
It is amazing. And one of the things, because of this kind of resurgence of kind of reconnecting, we feel it's language is a key piece. Like, language is a direct line to our culture, our heritage, our history. I don't know if you know that we did launch a app that helps people speak Criollo. I just pulled it up on my phone here.
hmm,
Um, so we just launched it back in March. And one of the things that we wanted to do was add audio to it. So it
Yeah.
has lessons. It goes from health to the market to family to history and
And,
culture and all that stuff. And it does have audio. It does have exercises that you can practice, and it does send word of the day. It is subscription based, but there are some free parts to it. It took us 3 years to
mhm.
work and really, like, again, we're really about doing it quality. And again, Liza, she's our creative director. um, she did the setup for it, the graphic. I mean, it's a beautiful app. Um, and we're really, really proud of it. It's called Speak Kriolu, and you could
Mhm.
get it for Androids and iPhones. I'm a droid, so I had to make sure. So
Yep.
I had to make
as
sure.
as
Um,
a as a, this gentleman right here, right?
oh, that's
I'm
right.
gonna look
Droid.
this guy right here, right? See
That's
the
what's
guy on the
up.
bottom, Joy.
Oh
He
yeah,
he,
yeah.
he calls his droid Android. I got an
Android.
Android.
See?
Yeah,
That's
that's what he
awesome.
calls it.
I love it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it took us a while, and we love it. I think and we're going to be adding to it as well. So there's so many pieces that are coming. We're really excited for that. So I mean, like I said, like, we do this work because we're passionate about it, and because there's a need and people are really kind of flocking back to this piece of language. Speak Kriolu app is really helpful in that way. So
I'm definitely gonna do it.
Speak
Subscribe
Kriolu.
to it.
Thank you.
Um, I'm more interested in your
You gotta let
classes.
me know what you think once you get it.
Yeah, I'm more. I really want to get into the classroom, and I got to talk to you more about that so we could
Yeah.
kind of get connected. Only because I want to start as elementary as I can. I don't want to skip no parts. I don't want to, I just want to do it from the ground level so I can really understand and know what I'm doing. So
Well, I mean, I do teach. There's another piece to what we do.
yeah,
I teach Kriolu Basics, and Kriolu Basics, I do a beginners and an intermediate. And the
yes,
beginners is ground up. So these people, I mean, people that have joined have very little, and some have those like memories from like the grandparents and family that used to talk and tell them to go away and not listen to the language. So when they do this class, some of it kind of triggers a lot of those things, and they remember words, and it kind of all fits.
yeah,
I've had tears in the class. I've had tears upon meeting people that have taken the class, because it's almost like unlocking a piece. And it is elementary. It is like ground up. We start with the sound. How do you say the letters? Like, what do
mhm,
each letters say, right? And then we go into building, putting those letters together so you can see it in words. But then we really get into dialogue and phrases, because that's how you really learn a language, is by practicing those dialogues and being able to say, how are you? Como você?
mhm,
Right?
mhm,
And because I teach a variation, because we know Criollo has variations, I do teach the Southern Island variation, but I try to incorporate some of the other variations. So, for example, in Cabo Verde, you'll go to like Praia, you can say "Bom dia, como está?"
yeah,
But then in Sal, you can say "Maneira bota."
mhm,
Right? So I try to teach those little things like that, because then I don't want people to say, this is how I say it, because Criollo doesn't work that way.
yes,
Is very fluid, and because of the variations, you don't want to stay stuck in one way.
I agree.
Context is super duper important, so we kind of go over those things. And when people do Kriolu Basics, a lot of them move on to intermediates, because then it really builds a foundation where then they are listening to music, and now they're listening to it with a different kind of perspective because
Yeah.
understanding words. So it's a beautiful thing to see the transition, and I think that that's my main drive and why I teach it, because to see someone go from I don't know anything. I wish it's so sad, blah blah blah. To oh my god, and like they'll text me or send me a DM like, oh my god, Jaffa, I like blah blah blah, and it's just like I'm done. Like my work is done.
I love it. I love it.
So it's
It's
really
so
fun.
it's so important.
Yeah.
I want to say hello to Michael. He's on YouTube on the
Oh,
Really Charlie podcast channel. I really hope that everybody has an opportunity to like and subscribe that channel. Michael is always reaching out to us through YouTube, and I appreciate him. Great dude, and we communicate a lot every day, and we're doing many things. And oh, look at this young lady. She says, "Sign me up."
all right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, all the information for Kriolu Basics is on my page,
I,
Kriolu Basics.
all right. I'm gonna grab that and kind of post that up there.
Yeah.
Michelle Perry is my lovely wife,
Oh,
and
nice.
she is she wants me to sign her up. So I have happy wife, happy life, I guess, right?
Right.
You know, gonna have to do that.
I can
Um,
send you the direct link as well, Charlie.
okay, do that, please.
Yeah.
I also put this podcast on Scribing Sister.
Okay.
So it's live, it's on that profile.
Yeah. Thank
And so that you could see it. And you can always revert to the Really Charlie podcast channel or
you.
come on my profile, whatever.
Okay. So,
This all right, let me see what I want to talk to you about. You have a show, you have a podcast. In my own words, is that or her? What
yeah,
is that?
I did do a podcast. It's not my own podcast, but I did Jennifer she's Latina, but what
Hmm.
she does is collect women's stories.
Yes.
And so I had submitted an essay I wrote, and it was called My Mother's Daughter, based on my relationship with my mom. And so yeah, so I was on her podcast, Her Own Words, and so it's really cool. She has lots of just women from different walks of life and different experiences. It's not all about mom relationships. So I was able to join with that. So I've done a few podcasts with folks. I guess my next kind of step after I do all this work is maybe having one of my own. But for now, I enjoy coming on to something like what you have, and
Hmm.
what Jennifer has, because it's still going. She launches a new podcast every Tuesday, and it's on the streaming platforms, YouTube
Yeah,
and
I
Spotify.
seen it, so I'm gonna like and subscribe to it.
Oh, great.
Only I think she's a good host, and but yeah, that was definitely good work on your end, and
Thank you.
so so your mother's daughter. What does your dad say about that? You
I don't know.
know?
Like I think, it's funny because growing up, like I had like this weird relationship with my mom, and I was always like trying to like impress her, or
Yeah.
but it was always so hard because I was such, what they call a tomboy. I was running
Hmm.
around. All I wanted to do was play sports. I didn't want to be in the house to learn how to do stuff. And so I would get in trouble a lot. So then
Yeah.
it made our relationship strained.
Hmm.
So, I actually used to always find my out by going with my dad to people's homes to fix things. So I learned
Hmm.
how to unclog a toilet at a very young age, you know, and, I know how to, if there's wiring issues with like a cord that's like maybe split, I know how to fix it. So I learned all that from my dad. And actually, it actually helps me now as a science teacher. Like a lot of my stuff growing up, kind of, it all comes back. So I always tell the kids at school, like, pay attention to what you're good at. Pay attention. Because that might be something you want to explore as you get older. You don't want to wait till you're older to be like, what am I going to do now? Even though that's kind of what I'm asking myself. Because, you want to explore and you want to learn. You don't want to ever stop. Michelle Obama said, like in her book, it's called Becoming. Because a lot of people say, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? But you evolve and you become and you change, and at every age. So
yeah, that's so true. It's so true. I think I changed from elementary school. I changed what I wanted to do. Middle school, I did the same thing. I changed again. High school, it was something, and then finally after high school, I finally decided what I wanted to do. So like you do change, and it all depends. You got to, if you want to do something, you got to make sure you like it, right? You couldn't, if you didn't like teaching, you couldn't go into it, right?
The crazy thing is that if you told me at like 18 that I was going to teach and I was going to be this talkative, like, because I could talk, as you can see, I would have been like, heck no, because I used to stutter. I used to kind of, when I spoke, my words hardly came out. It was very soft and quiet. And I couldn't stand that, actually. And I remember at 18, I was like, I need to be better. And I actually forced myself. I took a job at Macy's, but it was back then, it was Jordan Marsh. I'm totally aging myself right now, but that's okay. And so I took the job as a sales associate. And the first couple of weeks, I almost got fired.
Yeah.
Because I was so shy. And like when I would you had to speak to guests or customers or whatever. And I would like stumble and they would used to be like, what? Like, what did you say? We can't hear you, or like whatever. And so after a few weeks, I was like, no, I got to do better. I got to do better. And now can't get me to shut up.
I am. Well, I'm glad that Jordan Mars / Macy's got that out of you, and that you're in the classroom. The classroom is amazing environment to be in. I had an opportunity to be there thanks to the Alpha J Gomes School, and I was in there as a para and floating around and going to different classes from 3rd to 5th grade, even preschool. It was amazing. And but guess what? You're still underpaid. I get it. I really get it. So I asked this question of all my friends, right? All my guests. And I'm going to ask you. We got a quick comment here. It says her personality is very inspiring. And
thank you.
Who's there? Yes, perfect. Nice. I agree. So I ask all my guests on every show, who would you like to see on the Really Charlie podcast?
I would love to see my uncle Manuel Da Luz Goncalves, because his story is such an amazing one. I get a kick out of talking about those histories of, how did he get into this work, doing Kriolu resources. And then I actually love to listen to older women. Like, I'm surrounded, in my community, it used to be predominantly Capeverdean. Now it's changed with gentrification and all that.
Yeah.
Stuff. But a lot of the older women, like when I ask them questions, they seem to think that, why are you asking me that? Like, it's not important. I'm like, yeah, it's important. Like, we need to know this. And so anyone, like, I think an older woman is always an amazing person. I
Yeah.
can't think of anyone right now like that I can give you a name because there's so many, but like I just think their stories are so valid and so important because one of the things about me is that and the difference between me and my mom is that she didn't feel it was important to tell me a lot of stuff because she
Yeah.
felt like raising me more ignorant or without knowledge of certain things that I would be okay.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought you need to be prepared. So if a situation presents itself, you're equipped to do so. So a lot of these women that I speak to, and I love, and every time I leave them, I feel like I've learned something. But then I always feel as well that I'm giving them some of my own energy and saying to them, like, listen, it's important. It's important for you to talk. It's important for you to share these things because we don't know, and
Yeah.
it's valuable. So, I think that that would be amazing. So,
No,
like,
I'll
have all,
work on that.
yeah,
I'll work on that.
mhm.
Because you said older woman, I'm not going to mention any names, so I won't get
No,
in trouble or anything like that, or have anybody say, "Really, Charlie?" So
I
I.
know, but now I'm an older woman. Like, I feel like my kids are adults. I
Mm-hmm.
have three in their 30s and one who's
Good.
25. So
Congratulations.
yeah, and I'm the older woman now, but I feel like people that are older than me, I crave that. Like I feel like, you're in terms of asking them like, "Oh, when you were this age, like what would have helped you or what do you think went well or didn't go well or whatever?" Those are the things that help us,
So
right?
true.
Because then maybe we don't have to go through certain things that because we already are equipped. So
I
it's
agree.
an important piece.
Well,
Men,
I'm
too,
gonna.
don't get me wrong, older men too. I feel like, especially right now, like this talk of mental health and, just holding people accountable for their actions and not blame it and, oh, that's how I am or that's how I've
Hmm.
always done it. No, it's not okay. Like you
Yeah.
want to learn and grow. If you're doing something hurtful, you want to, and maybe you're talking to someone a certain way that maybe makes them feel bad. It's not okay
Exactly.
that just because you have that personality, it's like, "That's how I talk," but it's not okay.
Yep.
So those kinds of things. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Agree. They're So the old school ways I like. I really do. I like that conversation. Some of the old tales and old stories from different neighborhoods. I mean, my neighborhood, your neighborhood. I like the old timers to talk about that
Yeah.
because things are changing. Things are changing in the neighborhoods. The names on the mailboxes are entirely different.
Yeah.
The ownership of the homes are entirely different, and so I just like people to kind of share that so we can restore those stories from different parts of the city, whether it be Roxbury or New Bedford, it just and share them and pass them on because some people don't know that there was a whole neighborhood that wasn't just
Oh,
a
yeah,
big building. There was a bunch of houses over there. So,
for sure.
um, but yeah, I'm gonna work on that, and I have some people in mind, and I'll make sure I do that. As far as your uncle, I have to ask you though, if I get him on this, um, if I remember, yeah, I may need a translator, right?
No, no, no.
No,
No, he
all
was a
right,
Boston Public School educator for 30 through 8 years.
all right,
He now lives in Cabo Verde, but
mm-hmm.
no, we
Okay,
fully fluent in many languages actually.
yeah,
But he has an
Be-
amazing story. Like the fact that he came up with the idea of to write the dictionary for Kriolu was because he was teaching Haitian Creole in Haiti with the Peace Corps.
wow.
And so he speaks Haitian Creole, and so he's a has an interesting story.
Yeah, and the reason why I said that is
Mhm.
because most of the videos I see of him are are not in English, so and that's why I asked. So no, that's great. In fact, I met his son years and years ago, probably around 2015. I
Mhm.
believe it's his son. I can't think of his name right now. And that's how I got the book that I have.
Okay.
And it was just so amazing, especially, to me, it was a while ago, and look where it is now and how it's flourishing. You put it in Google and it's popping up. It's one of the first books that are popping up, and
Yeah,
it's amazing. So,
we love it.
um, very very proud of my newest book, which is yours, and everything that you do.
Thank
Everything.
you.
I'm gonna definitely be a supporter, and
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it because I love doing
uh,
it. And people know once you become part of Kriolu Basics, you have me as a resource. I've had people actually inspired to go to Cabo Verde.
hmm
Um, after taking the class, and when they get there, I do have people in Cabo Verde like Jolie Muniz, who would be
hmm
actually another good person to talk to. She does the traveling piece. She has
okay.
Avontade tours. So I kind of point people there because her staff speaks English, and she has people in the different islands. So if you're going to Sal, or if you're going to San Vicente or Fogo, she has people to help. But also, I've had former students, they're knee deep at the beach in Tarafal, and they're like,
hmm
they DM me like, "Hey, what does this word mean?" So it's been really awesome to kind of grow that community. So I love my Kriolu Basics community. Um, so I'm excited because we start up again in September. So I get a whole new cohort
Oh,
with Kriolu Basics for beginners, and then some of the folks that have signed up for intermediates have taken Kriolu Basics. So I love seeing them again
well,
when we
you're
start.
gonna see two
Oh, nice.
Perry families in there, and we're gonna get involved in that, and get signed up because it's very important. And as you see, the missus said, "Sign me up." So I
Yeah.
guess that's what we're gonna do. All right.
I will send you the link directly, but it is all on my page. I have a Kriolu Basics page on Facebook. I usually put it on Mili Mila. That's our
hmm
company. And then I'm also on TikTok, Kriolu Basics on TikTok. I usually put information there as well. So there's lots of ways in which you can contact me. We have LinkedIn. So lots of different ways. And we try to update on the regular basis to keep people informed. And then it's not just about Mili Mila, it's about others doing the work. For example, Kriolish, he
Yep.
would be another. Have you interviewed him? Edmar
No.
Goncalves?
No.
He would be a good one because he has that technology piece, like
hmm
really thinking about how do we use language to translate so that more people can get into technology. Um,
Okay.
so he would be a good one, Edmar. He does Kriolish, and then there's Miss Kringlish, Nani
I've
style,
heard.
who
Yes.
does uh her work, and she makes it fun because it's like she's silly, and that brings in the younger crowd, or it just makes it more comfortable because sometimes people are so afraid of saying words in Creole because
Yeah.
sometimes Cape can be tough.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I definitely, my tongue doesn't roll the right way, so I'm gonna mess up some words, and
No, you definitely got a YouTube. I always
all
say
right.
you got to YouTube how to trill your R.
Yeah.
Uh, There, I
Well.
mean, we'll get you there. I love doing it. And one of the things that I really try to press upon people is that, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Like you have to take the step. And within 7 weeks, it's always this amazing transition to, I can do this.
Yeah.
And now, because I do teach you how to read in Criollo, as well as speak, you're able to then utilize a dictionary. You're able to
Okay.
utilize, other resources because now you can actually decipher what the words are saying. So it's I think it's been a really amazing piece for me just to kind of see it grow. I've been doing it's going on 5 years in March. I started, during COVID quarantine,
Yeah.
and at my first go around, we had about 55 people logged in
That's
one
awesome.
night, and it was a lot, and I couldn't really make it interactive just because it was a lot of
A
people.
lot of
So
people,
now
right?
I do cap it at 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
I better get on it then.
Yeah.
I better get on it. So the I'm definitely gonna sign up. I really need to. And I got more confidence in you to teach me the right way. So
I
we're
got
gonna do it. That way I can communicate to my grandkids and
That's
because they know more words than I do. So
awesome.
it's gonna be amazing.
I love it. I love
Feel free. Feel free to come on again, like I said, once, twice, three
it.
times.
Yes, listen, I have more books coming, so I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, you definitely are. And
I'm
as
I'm working on we're gonna be launching the next dictionary. I don't know if I told you that.
no,
So the new dictionary is actually in reverse. It's English to Creole.
oh wow,
Yeah, so we're going to be launching that this year. And then next year, my new book, Nyolobo and the Coconut Tree, is going to be launching as well. So we got a lot going on. So I definitely would love to come back.
yeah, you got my support, and
Thank you.
definitely get that open invitation.
Yay.
We're gonna do this again. I'll keep in touch with you.
Yeah,
If I need something, I have any questions, I'll get in touch with you. But please send those links to me,
I will.
just so I can also have it and I can also share it. So
And if anyone, in terms of watching this, have more questions, they can always DM me at the Kriolu Basics. It's probably easier on Facebook or Scribe and Sisters or Mili Mila. I check all three. So,
yeah,
so I cover my bases. So whatever people, we have a question here.
yeah, I would just say you. I'll put it up. It's gonna take up a lot. You guys may have known my counselor in middle school, Mary Owens from the Cape Verde Islands, but she lived in California for most of her life. She died several years ago. She was from Mass. Mary Owens. Oh,
It's the middle school.
yeah. I actually that name sounds familiar. We did have a very we had a few teachers in this area with that last name. But
It's Owens.
so we'll see. I'll figure it out. Daniel Cooper, I appreciate that, and we'll try to get that connection. And even though she said she passed, I like to highlight somebody that passed away and kind of, bring out things like maybe stories from Daniel or somebody,
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. Oh, we got some Creole. Yeah, Creole.
Possible.
Just
I love it.
Yeah, that's my boy. He's good dude. Good dude. All right, so keep in touch, and
same to you. And I'll keep you posted as these new resources. And I do try to share others, not just ours.
Okay.
But we do try to look and see like the resources of people that are actually doing it and doing it well, because we want to honor the language. There is a Capeverdean alphabet. There is a way. There is structure. There are rules. So it's not, it's not willy-nilly anymore. And that's new. It's only been about since 2009. So whatever I find, I try to share on Kriolu Basics page on Facebook, Mili Mila, so that way it can spread.
Okay. I'll do the same. I have the Capeverdean book fair that's on Facebook, and I try to share authors' books and links and information. Let's do this together.
Put the new dictionary on there then.
Yeah.
Once it I'll send you all the info.
Yeah. That's real important. So we do that.
It's been 8 years, so
a lot of masterpieces are not made in minutes. They're made in days and hours and years. So, but
sure.
keep up your good work. And
Thank you. I appreciate you having me once again. I anytime, just let me know whatever
all
you
right.
need, and I'll see you soon in September.
Yes. Djofa Tavares, Miss Tavares, one of the greatest teachers in the area, and we're definitely gonna get her Teacher of the Year soon.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I can't wait to sign up for your class and get things going.
Awesome.
So,
I'm excited.
all right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody on YouTube. I appreciate you. And I am going to end this podcast with my favorite song by Peter Lionel Walker. Ms. Tavares, you have a great, great night.
Thank you. You as well.
God bless you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. There we go. Have a good night. God bless.
Bye-bye.
It's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bump into your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bump into your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass.